Okay, now I have audio rolling. And I can move that just a little bit like that. I gotta clean my lens. Today I've got a video that is my personal experiences with the M-Audio BX5 Studio Monitors. I've had these now for 4 years, and the big question is, how are these things after 4 years? Are they still relevant? Are these still good speakers today? And what are my thoughts on them, and how do they hold up? Thanks for tuning in to another video, guys. This one's kind of fun and a little bit different. I'm actually doing this one without a script. I want to give my thoughts and opinions on these M-Audio Studio Monitor speakers, the BX5 speakers. I would say point number one that I should talk about would be, what are my thoughts on these speakers in terms of my opinion on them? So right off the bat, I want to say that I still absolutely love these speakers. I think they are just phenomenal. The sound quality, the clarity it's just amazing to me. What I consider to be budget speakers in terms of the pricing, I think that you get way more than a budget sound from these speakers. So I use these speakers for pretty much everything. I like the fact that they're a flat, unequalized speaker, which is going to give you as close to the original recording sound that was intended as possible. These particular ones I did some research on, and I compared them to a lot of different similar models in similar price ranges, and these ones were the ones that I felt sounded the best to reproduce the music how I wanted to hear it. Now, one thing that's interesting, and I actually didn't know this at the beginning, but these speakers have a tiny little LED light on the front of them. And it's interesting because if you look at them from the side, you can hardly see the LED light. But when you get right to the middle of them and you're staring them straight on, the light is the brightest. And I found out that you actually use that light to help you position them. You know, what I did is I located where I was sitting at my computer desk, and then I looked over at each speaker, and then I went and adjusted them and just turned them until the light was the brightest as I stared at it. And that way I knew that I had the correct positioning. Of course, you're going to want to get better sound clarity and better, fidelity out of these things. So utilize something like that, and you can have the best sound as M-Audio intended. When I originally got these speakers, I did have a different sound interface for my computer. Unfortunately, it broke. I was looking at possibly getting another one and just keeping the same exact setup, but I came across the Motu M2. This new unit now is extremely clean. I don't get any noise coming through it. The speakers sound phenomenal, and when there's no sound, I hear nothing. Okay, so now we're going to jump into some sample recordings. I actually spent several hours recording these speakers using a microphone that I literally just had a few inches away from the thing. The microphone I used, I happen to have the Sennheiser MKE420. Sennheiser MKE... No, that's not the one I have. I got to figure out what microphone I have. The microphone that I used for recording this is the Sennheiser MKE600. This is a shotgun mic. It's the mic that I use to do my audio recordings. I have it up here right now. And I've been using this mic for about 3 years now. I very much enjoy the quality of this mic. Anyway, let's go over into probably DaVinci so we can have a look at these wave files right inside there as I play them. Okay, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve. Now I'm in the Fairlight tab, not because I'm doing any sort of sound processing, but I just like the interface in this tab. Now, if you're not already, I do recommend using headphones for this segment of the video. It's going to give you the best representation or best clarity for what you're listening to. The top track is the recording that I did from the M-Audio speakers, and the bottom track, or audio 2, this is the original sound file that I used to play the music and then obviously record it. I did make one minor change to the original file, which is that I converted this audio 2 track to a mono track. I wanted to make them sound as close to each other as I could. One thing I do want you to keep in mind, the original WAV files have the full range of the music, including the bass, whereas the recorded track is only going to have the mids and the highs, since I was only recording them from the M-Audio Studio Monitors, not including the subwoofer. So I've got here a variety of sound clips. I picked from several different genres, and I'm just going to go through each one, playing first the original and then the recorded version. So here we go. This one is kind of a modern indie rock track. So again, first I'm going to play the original song. All right, and now we're going to redo it and play the recorded track. So there you go. Next up, we have a sort of a modern female pop. Here's the original.
You missing me like you used to, yeah, like you used to. I miss you kissing me like you used to, like only you do. You know the good things are never as good as the bad, and your love is better than anything I've ever had. Oh, I miss you missing me like you used to, yeah, like you used to.
All right, now let's go back. And here's the recording.
I miss you missing me like you used to, yeah, like you used to. I miss you kissing me like you used to, like only you do. You know the good things are never as good as the bad, and your love is better than anything I've ever had. Oh, I miss you missing me like you used to, yeah, like you used to.
All right. Now on to the next song. This one is a Latin instrumental track. So let's hear the original. All right, now let's go back and we're going to listen to the recording. There you have it. All right, next up we have a rap song. So once more, we're going to go with the original.
After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it.
Yo, look, I ain't saying that I'm rich, cause if I'm honest, I've never been.
Okay, and now we're going to listen to the recording.
After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it.
Yo, look, I ain't saying that I'm rich, cause if I'm honest, I've never been.
All right. Now next up, we've got, this is a very high tempo. I call it kind of like a house track. Here is the original. All right, so now let's go back and listen to the recording. Here we go. right. This next one is an indie alternative song. So let's listen to the original.
Pick myself up and move to the beat of my heart and my soul. Sing a song for the dreamer.
Okay, now let's go back and let's hear the recording.
Pick myself up and move to the beat of my heart and my soul. Sing a song for the dreamer.
All right. So next up we've got, it's a country track, but it's got a really old school vibe to it. And here is the original.
In this dark night, it's too hard for me to say now if the rays of hope will shine again someday.
All right. And here is what the M-Audio sounds like.
In this dark night, it's too hard for me to say now if the rays of hope will shine again someday.
Now the next song here is kind of a indie alternative sample. So here's the original.
Yeah, your heart is a sun and it shines as it opens.
Where your heart is the sun and it shines as it opens.
All right, so now we're going to go back and hear the recording out of the M-Audio Studio Monitors.
Yeah, your heart is a sun and it shines as it opens.
Where your heart is the sun and it shines as it opens.
All right, now the next track we've got here is another electronic song, and here is the original. All right, here it is, recording out of the M-Audio. Now, this next track is actually our last track for this part, and this one is an indie alternative song. So here's the original.
Be still, my darling. All is well, my darling. Your anxious heart may well be slow.
All right, and now we're going to listen to the recording.
Be still, my darling. All is well, my darling. Your anxious heart may well be slow.
Now, one thing I did when I was putting these samples together, I decided to take one track and try an experiment. So for this experiment, what I did is I recorded the track just like all my earlier tests. Then I turned the monitor speakers off and positioned the mic right in front of the M-Audio BX subwoofer and recorded it again. Now you'll notice that I have an audio 3 down here. 3 is just the bass line, 1 is the recording, 2 is the original. So first I'm just going to play part of this song, then we'll go back and we'll listen to the recorded version of the same thing and you can see what you think. So here's the original.
I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you, I love you, I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la.
All right, so now we're gonna go back and I'm unmute 1 and 3, mute 2, and we're gonna listen to how it sounds recorded with the bass hopefully added in.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la.
So I'm curious what you guys thought about this. Definitely would love to hear any feedback that you have. You can type it in the comments below. I do try to stay up with answering comments and keeping up with any feedback you guys give or questions you have. Now, I do have one final segment of this video, and what I did in this one, let me jump over to the Edit tab. I've got another timeline here. So what I did in this one is I did sort of an A-B comparison. As it goes through, it's just going to jump back and forth. Instead of having a pause in between, it's the same song, it just continues on jumping back and forth. So again, I encourage you to use headphones for this section. Let's try it out. Enjoy.
Met a woman, got engaged, time passed, wedding day. Then my feet turned cold at the tone of those wedding bells. I felt bad, everybody got dressed up, but I knew I'd messed up, so I had to fess up that all I really wanted was just to get drunk as hell. So I jilted that poor woman and I got drunk as hell. I'm a talking about hellfire, hellfire, yeah, hellfire, hellfire, oh hellfire, that's where I'm bound. I'm a talking about hellfire.
Holding your breath still, you join the fire. We'll just sit and wait till you see me fly. You'll never catch me for it. See me fly, the way I put my finger on it. See me fly, you got it, then try to tell me you got the wrong guy. See me fly, you'll never catch me for it.
These speakers are amazing. I truly think that you will not be dissatisfied if you pick them up. I love these speakers. Of course, you're going to need some additional equipment to go with them in order to get the best sound out of them. I personally recommend that you track down the M-Audio BX subwoofer. Well worth it. That's what I have in my setup. You don't have to turn it up loud. It is a 10-inch subwoofer, but you can turn it up however you want. It's got its own separate volume control, but wow, does it add a nice, rich bass to everything you're listening to. And if you do any sort of music listening, then do it. But minimally, just getting these speakers by themselves, they sound amazing. They're incredible. I recommend them strongly. Guys, I really appreciate you checking out my video. If you made it this far, that says something. I do put a lot of work into these videos. I had, for this one alone, probably 2 hours just of setup, and I'm constantly trying to up my game. I want to make my videos better and better each time. So it really, really is appreciated when you watch my videos to the end. And of course, if you give it a like and you've subscribed to my channel, that helps tremendously, because then my videos have a higher tendency to pop up for other people. And my whole objective here is to share my knowledge and, share my reviews with other people so that it hopefully can help them in some way. Maybe somebody else is deciding whether or not they want to get these particular speakers. And if this video helps them make that decision, that's great. So again, thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video.